Hello, friends. I'm Commander Robinson Farinazzo, a retired Navy officer, right? I worked for many years in the Marine Corps and with naval aviation projects. And now I have the Art of War channel, which is a vehicle for military analyses, strategic and geopolitical with a professional focus. We study many doctrines military around the world and analyze these events in light of various doctrines military. Well, with that said, let's get to today's video. I wanted to show the international audience what is the vision that Brazilians have of the war in Ukraine, which happens the following. Brazil is a country that receives a very large influence from Western media, right? So it is logical that there is a view of the expanded West here mostly, but Brazil has a difference in relation to Europe. We have more freedom of information circulation here. Brazil has not censored others, different media from Europe and the United States that are now wanting to ban TikTok, which is practically banned media. So what happens? All the versions of the war in Ukraine reach Brazilians. Just search for them. You get all the versions here. It makes sense, right? Unfortunately, with the hegemonic media's dominant narrative, at the beginning of the war, this media managed to give the public the impression that Ukraine was winning for the Russians. It was the incompetence of violence, the statecraft. But as time went by, the Ukrainian victory didn't appear. Russia began to show its military successes. This narrative became quite weakened and ended up opening space for independent media, as is the case of the channel Art of War, right? And people started to see the other side. Today, I would say the following, that although there is a division of rooting, unfortunately, this exists not only in Brazil, but in other countries as well. People rooting for Ukraine, others rooting for Russia, I believe. Most people here in Brazil, even those who support Ukraine, have already realized that the country's chances of winning this war are very slim. In other words, the facts are speaking louder than the narrative. But it's important to say this. The key difference is that despite having the dominant media narrative, Brazil, with its greater freedom of information, we've been able to foster a well-informed public in our country. This is not only about the war in Ukraine, but also about the war in Israel. Opinions here in Brazil are quite divided on this matter. The dominant media is strongly favoring Israel and denying the genocide, but you have a very robust alternative media here in Brazil growing every day and broadcasting the truth to the public. So I think there are many informed people in Brazil. That's very good. Sadly, we do not have here yet the equivalent of the United States, where you can find great commentators like Cornell Marigor, Marchinov, Scott Ritter, Merkheimer, and a whole slew of others. The list is massive. They reach a massive audience. Much of Brazil doesn't actually experience this. Geopolitical matters are still mostly off the radar for the majority of Brazilian society. But as what's happening abroad starts to heavily influence our economy, I believe more people will start taking an interest. It's unavoidable in the United States. America plays a major role on the geopolitical stage. And in Europe, as I've mentioned before, there's a lot of complacency. Europeans are disconnected from the happenings in the war in Ukraine through censorship, and many versions of events are being kept hidden. But this is generally the snapshot we have here in Brazil. So if you enjoyed our video, subscribe to our ARTE to GUERRA channel. We have videos in English and Portuguese. Reach out to us, leave a comment, share our videos, subscribe to our channel. If you can aid with a super sticker or super chat, you're helping the algorithm to find us. See you in the next video, folks.